We do have a quorum present. Our first bill up this morning is Senate File 3451. Senator Bakk, to your bill. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A short period of time before I got into the legislature, so this was a while ago, that what was then Northwest Airlines opened a aircraft maintenance facility up in Duluth. It was a big project, put a lot of people to work. But in the process of all the consolidation in the airline industry and overcapacity of facilities, it didn't hold, and it's not being used by what is now Delta Airlines today. The good news is we've got an opportunity with Cirrus Aircraft, who's the largest private airplane manufacturer in the country. They're currently are at the Duluth Airport, and they would like to expand, and we're hoping they're going to as much as triple their business, their production. So what the bill is a property tax incentive for them to buy down some of the early cost in the build out of the project that needs to happen. So Mr. Chairman, I have with me, well, I think we've got the city on Zoom, and I haven't been doing Zoom, so I didn't authorize a Zoom testimony, right? I mean, Mr. Chairman, I've had people from Grand Portage, from the Gunflint Trail, from Evelyn, from the International Falls, and all over northern Minnesota come down, but we do have one from Duluth today on Zoom from the city, so maybe we probably hear from him first.
Very good. And that is
Chris.
Leahy, Director of Planning and Economic Development, City of Duluth. So welcome to the committee. Please.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, yeah, I apologize about my camera. I don't understand why I don't have video, but anyways, I've got a loaner computer, but anyways, my name is Chris Fleege. I serve as the Director of Planning and Economic Development here at the City of Duluth. And I want to thank Senator Bakk for sponsoring the bill, which is proposing to modify the property tax exemption language impacting the property allocation for businesses that are located and operate at the airport. The goal of this legislation, as Senator Bakk mentioned, is to support economic development for the aviation business cluster through encouraging capital investment and job creation at the airport. This change will incentivize capital investment and increase the overall tax base in the state. And as Senator Bakk mentioned, Sears plans to triple the size of their operation. I can share the following key points of the legislation that might be helpful. First is that it will not reduce other levy amounts, whether it's the city, the county, or the school district. It basically, ends up reallocating the expenses. So again, it's not like a tax abatement per se. Two, the proposed legislation or legislative language would provide a new transitional net tax capacity rate of 50% for aviation businesses located at the airport in cities with populations between 50,001 and up to 150,000. So these would include Duluth, potentially in the future, St. Cloud, Rochester. Under the current tax language, businesses located at airports at cities currently with a population below 50,000, so many of the regional airports, Hibbing, Evelyn, Tower, Bemidji, they pay no property taxes. I mean, their net capacity is essentially at zero because there are ongoing costs that occur at the airport that the communities have to pick up, compared to cities with populations greater than 50,000, which currently pay the full 100. So as soon as you get over 50,000, you have the full tax burden. The proposed language change would provide this reduced net tax capacity rate of 50% for all aviation related businesses located at the airport for cities between 50,001 and up to 150,000. And I guess please note that what's different about aviation businesses that operate at the airport, that they're also subject to additional lease expenses. which is structured to provide additional financial support for the airport operating costs, such as plowing runways, providing maintenance for the pavement. At the Duluth Airport, our airport authority has calculated that the equivalent miles would be about 75 miles of roads that they have to maintain. They also have firefighting capability, security that's required, lighting, and other operating costs. And the airports do not have levy authority or other dedicated special funding mechanisms. So they basically recover those ongoing operating costs that might be viewed as, things that other businesses might have within their property taxes. They have to collect through the lease mechanism. So that the other, businesses do not normally face in other, located off of the airport. And the total property taxes for the businesses that are located at the airport, at least in the Duluth Airport, are about 1.1 million per year in taxes. And on top of that, then they pay an additional 2.3 million in lease expenses. So almost a factor of 2 for the lease expenses, on top of their current property taxes. So businesses located at the airport are not allowed to own the land. The FAA requires it to be either owned by the municipality or an airport authority. It's an FAA requirement. And these businesses, again, shoulder that expense. And I think what's really different is that they do provide value for, clearly Steers needs to be at an airport, but they also support other businesses by, providing daily FedEx deliveries that come into the region. They also, provide daily commercial air service that supports business travel, as well as travel opportunities for leisure for various residents, both in Duluth, but really the broader region. So again, the impact to the other Duluth taxpayers will be minimal. And St. Louis County provided some updated numbers last night on the current tax capacity. And I want to be clear because I think in my House testimony, there was a little bit of confusion. So the total net tax capacity that's generated up at the Duluth Airport is 859,000 for the tax year 2022. This transitional tax rate, if it was implemented, would basically account for a reallocation of about 429,000. And the impact, I think this was a little bit of the confusion at the House. I talked about what was the impact to a house valued at 200,000 to a homeowner. And St. Louis County calculated that impact would be about $6.44. So again, it's a small amount. It's less than 0.25% increase. And I know that the Department of Revenue calculated an estimate, and I think they took my testimony around the 200,000, assuming that was what was getting reallocated. The real amount is 429,000. So if I was to increase the amounts that they provided with the 10,000, it might be closer to 23,000 impact to the general fund, which, as I understand it, is, and I'm sure they'll provide better background, but the 23,000 starting in I think it's tax year, I think it's 2 years out, basically accounts for the homestead credit that the general fund would have to pay for the increased amount. So again, as Senator Bakk talked about, this provision also has a sunset date. It runs through 2034. It will support economic expansion. And just one last fact that is unique to Duluth, and Senator Bakk talked about it, is the former MRO facility is owned by DEDA, which is the Economic Development Authority in Duluth. And it was part of the Northwest incentive to, have the air base up there. But as they exited the area, and then we had a subsequent tenant in there for 7 years, AAR, and then they, due to COVID and the downturn in the travel industry, they closed shop out of Duluth. Duluth and DEDA have had to carry that cost, which is substantial. It's almost over 700,000, and the taxes alone are 346,000 on that facility alone. So that is really the purpose of this bill, is to, provide an incentive for Sirius, who has a vision, and Mr. King will be able to elaborate on that. And he does a great job about the what a great business to have up on the Duluth Airport. But again, I would encourage the Senate to support this language. It does have a sunset date out to 2034, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you or any of the committee members would have. And again, we appreciate Senator Bak's support for this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fleege. And if you would hold on the line, we will go through all of our testifiers first before we open it up for questions. In addition, before we proceed to Mr. King, I would have Senator Jasinski move Senate File 3451, and there is also an author's amendment, the A1 amendment, and have him move that as well. Would someone like to explain the A1 amendment before we vote on it? Mr. Sylvia?
Mr. Chair and members, the purpose of the A1 amendment is twofold. First off, it does add an overall effective date to the provision, so it will be effective beginning with taxes payable in 2023. And also it does provide the sunset that Senator Bakk indicated, so that it would apply for taxes payable in 2023 through 2034. So it would not be an ongoing net tax capacity reduction. It would just be limited to those 10 taxable payable years.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, it won't come as a surprise to the members on the committee that serve on taxes. I like sunsets.
Understood, Senator.
I like them up on the lake where I live too.
Very good. First, all those in favor of the A1 amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. With that, we will turn to the testimony of Mr. King. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. William King. I'm with Sirius Aircraft, Sirius Aircraft in Duluth. As Senator Bakk mentioned, we are the largest single engine aircraft manufacturer in the world. Something we're really proud of at Sirius Aircraft. When we moved the company here in January of 1994, there was about 20 of us. We built kit airplanes back in those days, and we were all full of just all kinds of energy and youthful enthusiasm, and set out to change the world of aviation, which in fact we have now done. We are the largest in the world. We're proud of that up at Sirius Aircraft. We're proud that it's a Minnesota company. And every single one of those airplanes we've ever built in that growth mode, getting to be the world leader, every one of those planes is built right here in Minnesota. And I'm proud of that. I'm a Minnesota kid, so I'm proud of that. So the bill before you today has been mentioned, something that's trying to do something in terms of kind of leveling the playing field. The bill is really about jobs and tax base. Our stated objective, if my CEO had the opportunity to speak to you this morning, he would tell you that our objective over the next 10 years is to triple the size of Sirius Aircraft, understanding we're the largest in the world, right? Is to triple. His next line is, and that's really a rather unambitious goal. To which I gag on my coffee thinking, if that's unambitious, I wonder what he thinks ambitious is. So, but that's where we're at today. And we're in a growth mode. We have a couple of thousand employees at Sirius Aircraft, and we're excited about the growth mode that we're entering. This particular project is a bit of an oddball, taking on this large MRO, the Old Northwest base. The hangar alone is 8.3 million cubic feet. It's 95 feet high and a 400-foot wide door, and it can fit 3 Airbus A320 aircraft inside with the doors closed. None of my airplanes are that big. I don't need a 100-foot ceiling. So you can appreciate the amount of effort it's going to take to retrofit that complex and make it usable for our purposes. My top tail height is about 14 feet. So we've got some dead space we're going to have to work with, but we're excited about our growth mode. We hope you are too. We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. This really goes a long ways towards leveling the field a bit, if you will. We effectively end up, it's something just short of double, but it's effectively double taxed. You heard Chris talk at some length about the liability for leases. We own our buildings, but we can't own the real estate on which they sit. That has to be leased. And the lease rate, if you were to capitalize it, if you're going to do a building in an industrial park, would be about $100,000 to $150,000. But you never end up owning it. You just get to pay that rate forever. We get it. It's about keeping the airport running. It's one of the best maintained and operated airports literally in the upper Midwest. We're proud to call it home. But we're excited about this. This bill will go a long ways towards helping us start the process of getting that expansion underway with the new thrust and additional manufacturing. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the bill. We're supportive of the sunset provision. That certainly protects the state from the law of unintended consequence if this doesn't do what we all think it's going to do. So we're excited about that, and we're excited about our growth mode, and we're excited to be here in Minnesota and call it home. This is our world headquarters, and we're proud of it, and we hope you are too, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you very much for the time this morning.
Thank you, Mr. King. Senator Jasinski, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. King, actually, is very exciting. I agree. I've been by the facility quite a bit. And so I have a related but an unrelated question. So I developed an air grants program a few years ago, and Sirius was one of those people that used that program. Do you recall how you used that program, what it was used for, and what's the status of that project? It was a $250,000 air grants, I believe. So if you could just comment, please.
Mr. King.
I certainly can. Chairman, Senator, thank you for asking. That money was utilized. We matched it dollar for dollar, as you'll recall. It was 250. We matched it to do a specific upgrade for HVAC system and some physical work for a building that the airport authority owns on the campus on the airport in Duluth. It was an old storage building that the airport authority had. It had been vacant. It had been used by the prison initially, the federal prison camp in Duluth. They left it, and it was pretty, you wouldn't put a dog you didn't like in it. I mean, it was terrible. There's no nice way to say it. So it needed a complete retrofit. We've actually put about $1 million into that building since we've been in it, just upgrading it. And that grant specifically helped us rebuild the HVAC system and the roof that of course builds value for the airport authority, because that is one of the buildings they own that we lease, not only the land, but the building as well. So that's what it was used for. The project completed on schedule. And I'm proud to say that is actually part of our R&D project that we're going to be able to help consolidate over in the new building we're about to use and turn that building that we use the air grant for into other manufacturing space. We're just desperate for space.
Thank you. And then one follow-up question. So I had this question earlier with staff. We have a facility in my district that actually, as you said, that you lease the land, but you own the building, and they manufacture aircraft. So maybe a question is to staff. So it's the city less than 50,000. They believe that they do not have to pay property taxes on it, but they have been. And there's never really been a clarification on that issue. So again, they manufacture airplane. It's less than 50,000. They own the structure, but they lease the land that it sits on. How does that qualify for taxable versus non-taxable property? If somebody could answer that.
Mr. Sylvia.
Mr. Chair, Senator Jasinski, I recall the situation with the airport you're referencing, and I can't recall the specifics. I know it was the subject of litigation, and I believe this bill, I can't say for sure whether or not it would qualify or not, simply because of the population factor. I know this bill specifically is referencing those airports with a population over 50,000 under current law. Airports owned by a government entity located in cities with a population less than 50,000 should already be exempt, but I think it's the purpose behind the rented property. If it's used for manufacture, if it's used for storage, I think is the difference. But I recall the situation. I'll just need a little more time to review the specifics to see whether or not this proposal would specifically cover that situation.
Thank you. And if that, I might have a possible amendment for you, Mr. Bakk. Senator Bakk.
Okay, very good. Senator Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Bakk, for the bill, and I appreciate the A1 with the sunsets. When you're no longer on the tax committee next year, I'll try to carry your fortitude forward on that. I'll stand for that as well. And then the numbers that were quoted about the amount of shift onto the average homeowner also sounded very reasonable. So I appreciate the homework on that. And great to meet a representative from Cirrus. Thanks for the good work you're doing here in Minnesota.
Any further questions, members? Senator Bakk, final comment.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything further to add except to say that economic development in rural Minnesota is really hard. And I'm proud that Cirrus is a Minnesota company and that, you know, they probably could do this somewhere else cheaper. You know, but they've got a loyalty to Minnesota. It's those Minnesota employees that help them grow over the years. And I'm just really pleased. And I've met Bill's been down here a number of times over the years, and he's been just a stalwart Minnesotan. So looking forward to attending the groundbreaking on the renovation of the building.
Very good. Thank you, Senator Bakk. With that, Senate File 3451 as amended will be laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you for your testimony. And Mr. King, if you have any problems with permitting during the process, let's have a visit.
Senator, it'll be my pleasure. I have your number. Thank you again for all your help. Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Yeah, for first. I want to raise.
Okay, Senator Weber, you have Senate File 3495, 3945.
3945, yes.
All right, you have any amendments, Senator Weber?
I do not have any amendments.
Excellent. All right, well then, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. This bill basically revisits the issue of 4D housing. Last year, we had a bill in front of us that dealt with reduction of the market value of the units and reduction of the rate from taking the first tier from 0.75 down to 0.25. We wound up actually doing a reduction of the value back to $100,000 for 2 years before it could go up. If it is, just to refresh your memories, when 4D housing taxing policy was created, basically the value was established at $100,000 per unit to be adjusted annually for inflation. And the first 100,000 was taxed at 0.75%, and then the balance over the 100,000 would be taxed at 0.25%. Well, as that minimum step kept going up to a point where it was in excess of $170,000, and so many times that cheaper second rate was never attainable for the property owners. And yet their income that they're able to collect is always restricted by the programs in which they're in, basically providing affordable housing for lower income individuals. And so they were getting caught in this cost crunch with rising taxes and restricted income. And so we bring this bill back in front of the committee today, number one, to keep the discussion going about this particular issue and for them to talk about the issues that they still face. Mr. Chairman, I have with me today first Ward Innes, who I believe is going to speak to the issue, and then we have some other testifiers as well.
Welcome to committee, Mr. Innes. Please state your name and who you're with for the record. You may begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Ward Innes. I'm here on behalf of the 4D Coalition. The 4D Coalition is a group of 16 affordable housing developers that do development throughout the entire state of Minnesota. They're responsible probably for producing and preserving about 70 to 75% of the affordable housing units in the state of Minnesota. And they have coalesced around this issue that Senator Weber just discussed about addressing, reforming, and modernizing the 4D property tax program. And I think the senator did a very good job of kind of highlighting the problem here. We've been doing pleading our case here for 4 years now. And thanks to the leadership of Senator Weber, Senator Rest, Senator Dietzick, Senator Nelson, We made some incremental progress last year by reducing that valuation breakpoint to $100,000. But we really view that as kind of a triage, maybe a pause. It certainly provides some relief, but we really need permanent tax rate reduction. And also this, the legislature stepped forward and instructed the Department of Revenue to do a 4D study, which we were here, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago and did a kind of a deep dive on the study, and also had a fair amount of testimony on the record from developers talking about the dilemmas they're facing in producing, you know, an adequate supply and preserving affordable housing. I really appreciate the leadership Senator Weber has shown on this issue. The bill in front of you today is a revised version of the 4D. It's something that we believe is a good faith effort to address the concerns of the cities. I think one of the central features in the bill is something that Senator Weber came up with during last year's negotiations in conference committee, and providing for municipal consent for cities. So anybody who wanted to get new certification for a 4D property would have to get the consent of the cities. And so that really gives them keys to the castle moving forward about new properties. If they feel they already have too much of a burden in their community with 4D property, they can deny the certification of 4D. So we gave that component is in this bill. Also, another component that was brought forward by Senator Rest during these same negotiations is the transition aid. So communities that are maybe a little bit more disproportionately impacted get some transition aid. It's a very targeted relief. It's temporary for a couple of years. It's very cost effective. I think the revenue estimate shows it only costs about $800,000. There's nothing, the bill is currently drafted, reduces everybody's impact to no more than 2% of their tax base. There's nothing magical about the 2% threshold. We could go to 1.5. I don't think that would have a huge additional cost, but it's a recognition that there are some communities out there that have a little more of an impact due to this proposal. And I think that transition aid is something we've used in the past when class rates have been changed. And I think it's proven to be an effective shock absorber for these kind of class rate changes. You know, I think it's, you know, I'm looking at the most recent property tax simulation that nonpartisan staff did. I think it reaffirms what we've already known and what the report showed, that the impact on the average valued home in Minnesota is very modest. And for most part would not even be discerned. I mean, the average impact on an average valued home in Minnesota would be $14. And we just heard a bill that said the average, you know, the value in Duluth alone would be $6 for the airport bill. You know, so $14. Metro is $25. Greater Minnesota, $5 per average valued home. So I think the public benefit of increasing the affordable housing stock in Minnesota, preserving what we already have, outweighs those modest shifts, and there's ways to deal with those shifts. The other issue I want to talk about is that it's been raised by the city is that there isn't adequate guardrails in the program. And the current program has been in operation for nearly 20 years. And there's really no indication that the program has been abused by developers to, you know, to enrich their pockets or anything like that. But we are very, very open to a continued discussion on guardrails. I dusted off my guardrail folder recently, and Eric Sylvia has been amazing at how many different iterations he's worked on with us to try to address this issue. And so we're happy to go back to that and talk some more about that. And I'm happy to give the power of the pen to the cities. Say, what do you guys need as far as guardrails to make you comfortable with the proposal? And you know, they can put pen to paper and come up with whatever they think they need. But you know, most importantly, I think this is the year to act. We have enough information. We don't need any more analysis. This is really an acute problem in the state of Minnesota, as you guys all know. And just to put it in context, the proposal as currently drafted would shift about $47 million away from affordable housing onto the rest of the tax base. We're talking about a tax base of $12 billion. The property tax generates almost $12 billion a year, and we're talking about something less than $50 million. And so I think it's very achievable. It's a reasonable proposal that's in front of you today. And I want to thank Senator Weber and Senator Rest and DSIC and Senator Klein for signing on to the bill. There's been a long work in progress, and I hope this is the year we can finally push it over the finish line.
Thank you, Mr. Inus. Next up is Mr. Scott Quartus. You online, Mr. Quartus?
I am. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. I'm pleased to be here again with you today. My name is Scott Quartus. I'm Chief Financial Officer and Senior Vice President of Operations at Project for Pride in Living. PPL is an affordable housing and career readiness nonprofit based in the Twin Cities, where we develop, own, operate, and provide supportive services to roughly 1,600 units across the Twin Cities. I want to also say, prior to my time at PPL, I was the budget director at the city of St. Paul for nearly a decade. So I greatly appreciate the challenges at the local level, as well as operating affordable housing that each of us navigate every single day. So Ward did a great job of describing the challenge in front of us, and the context of the impact of the legislation on various levels of government. I want to elaborate on that just a little bit, and also share a little bit more directly the impact that the expense growth that we've seen, both due to property taxes and other things over the last couple of years, the impact that it's had on our ability to operate housing with dignity that our residents deserve. So as an affordable housing operator, I can tell you our margins are narrow by design. It's in order to keep rents low, to make sure that we can continue to provide affordable housing across the state with limited resources. And rising costs are making it nearly possible to meet our goal and our need to break even in our property portfolio every single year. Property taxes are a single biggest cost driver. Since 2014, we've seen 70% increase in our property tax growth during that time. And in just the past year alone, our four biggest cost drivers, property taxes, property insurance, utilities, and security costs, have grown by 10% in just 1 year. So losses have ranged in the past 2 years due to some of this cost growth, over $1 million across our portfolio in each of the last 2 years. And losses of that magnitude just aren't sustainable and jeopardize the long-term viability of our mission. When we sustain losses like that, we have to tap our property reserves, which are limited and are necessary to do capital improvements. It also sometimes causes us to tap resources earmarked for other programs and diverts those needed resources for important work that we're doing in the community. The good news, as Mr. Ines touched on earlier, is the legislation is relatively low cost, both at the state and local levels. My understanding is the cost to state governments to help support property tax refund program, as well as the transition aid that Mr. Ines talked about, is roughly $3 million. In the grand scheme of things, that's very good value for the benefit that this provides affordable housing operators. At the local level, the direct impact actually doesn't impact bottom lines of local government budgets at all. However, as the Department of Revenue shared when they were in front of you a few weeks ago, sharing their 4D study, it does cause property tax shifts from properties to properties. And I want to note that properties, and as all of you know from your expertise in the property tax division, property taxes shift from different types of property every single year due to differences in valuations from valuation growth from properties to properties. And as Mr. Ines pointed out, the tax shifts projected in this legislation are under 0.5% onto an average value home statewide. So it's very much within a reasonable range of the types of tax shifts that happen every single year. And importantly, the $48 million or so that shifts from affordable housing properties to other types of properties. One way to look at that, that's an infusion of $48 million into affordable housing and into the preservation of affordable housing across the state. So again, bottom line is it's relatively low cost to state and local government, high value to organizations like ours that desperately need some relief from the spending growth that we're experiencing. And $48 million on an annual basis is a really good and really strong investment to make sure that we can continue to provide affordable housing across the state. So I'll pause there. I'm happy to stand for questions now, and I'll stick around to answer questions after others testify as well.
Thank you, Mr. Quartus. Yeah, hang around, please. Next up is Deidre Schmidt. Deidre Schmidt, you online as well? There you are.
I am.
Please state your name and who you're with for the record. You may begin. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members for this opportunity to speak. And thanks again for considering this, what I think is a very important bill. My name again is Deidre Schmidt. I serve as the CEO and president of Common Bond Communities. We're a nonprofit affordable housing developer, property manager, and service provider. We're based here in St. Paul, and we're celebrating our 50-year anniversary this year. Our service area encompasses Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa, but the vast majority of our properties are here in Minnesota, both in the metro area and in greater Minnesota. We serve about 13,000 people overall, ranging from seniors to families in 60 cities throughout those 3 states. So I wanted to just remind us of 2 important things. 4D, this proposal is meant to be 4D in itself is meant to be a correction for a flaw in the assessment methodology in Minnesota. And the second point is that without making that correction, really the brunt of the impact will be felt by low wage earners. So I'll expand a little bit on both those points. First, about the fact that it is a correction. The assessment methodology in Minnesota doesn't reflect a really important difference between affordable housing and market rate rental housing. Affordable rental housing is subject to underwriting and usually by multiple public entities to ensure that we have a wise use of resources. The vast majority of affordable housing have long-term use agreements in place, so long-term promises for affordability, and we have significant rent and income restrictions. Even so, all of these properties are valued. The value of those properties is assumed to be the same as market rate properties that are not originally structured or operated with considerable oversight from government. They aren't intended really to deliver a considerable public benefit, and they don't have a limitation on the rents that they charge or the incomes of the people that they serve. So without an effective adjustment that offsets that flawed methodology, the property taxes on affordable housing are outsized, relatively speaking, to the financial realities of the projects. So that's just to describe again the correction and why it's necessary. And so you might think, well, so what? Even Common Bond, as a nonprofit property owner, has only a limited ability to protect residents, so low wage earners who are important to our economy, who are disproportionately likely to be people of color. We have a limited ability to protect residents from the effects of that higher taxation level relative to the realities of the deal. Eventually, we have to increase rents to the maximum allowable by the programs on renters that are frankly probably already rent burdened. And eventually, after we've maxed rents to the utmost limits of those programs that brought the properties into being in the first place, then we eventually have to make other compromises, like in our ability to fully staff the properties or to maintain the properties. And it's these later points that can ultimately, these concession points, that can also impact quality of life and value of surrounding properties. So our ability to be that buffer is becoming exhausted. From our organization's point of view at Common Bond, much like Mr. Quartus just shared, our operating costs have increased really significantly. In the last year alone, our property and liability taxes have increased by 30%, and our security costs have increased by 25% across our portfolio. So this ability, a lack of ability to buffer residents does affect some of the lowest income people, hardest working, lowest wage earners in our state. It also translates to a reduced appetite on the part of others to participate in the development of this housing. And that is particularly true. It limits the development of affordable housing in areas of greater opportunity, areas where market rate properties might have particularly high market value. So both in terms of the ability to be fair to existing low-income workers and to assure that we have opportunity for all and available workforce in all areas of our state, this is a really critical measure. Finally, I want to just share a specific example. Previously we talked about how this is a pretty minor shift in tax burden. I want to put it in the context, the impact of this in the context of a family. So we did some analysis on a subset of our portfolio, and we found that in St. Paul alone, the correction that is being sought through this bill would result in a property tax savings in our St. Paul properties on average of $640 a year per unit. And I just want to compare that $640 a year to the average household income in a common bond property, which is $20,000 a year. So we can see the incredible impact on low wage earners of this correction. I'd be happy also to answer questions or stick around for the conversation. Thanks for hearing me out today.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Next up, we have Daniel Lightfoot. Welcome to the committee, Mr. Lightfoot. Please state your name and who you're with for the record. You may begin. Thank you.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee. My name is Daniel Lightfoot, the League of Minnesota Cities, which represents the collective interests of 837 cities across the state of Minnesota. And our comments this morning are also consistent with Metro Cities, which represents the interests of cities specifically in the 7-county metro area. And I would direct your attention to some written testimony that should be in your packets as well from Metro Cities. The League supports policy efforts that address the statewide need for affordable housing construction and preservation, and we certainly support the current 4D low-income rental classification that provides a class rate reduction in property taxes that roughly equates to a 40% reduction in property taxes to qualifying low-income rental units. And we certainly thank Senator Weber and other members of the subcommittee that have worked with the League on this issue and continue to do so. We have been involved in previous conversations, as Mr. Ines mentioned, certainly with the bill author and the advocates of the bill, on how to find that balance on mitigating the increased tax burden on the existing property tax base, which in some specific jurisdictions is substantial. We've heard about averages and regional analysis, but in some smaller jurisdictions with a higher number of 4D units making up the overall net tax capacity, those shifts can be substantial, much higher than a 2% net tax capacity reduction. And balancing that with the 4D class rate reduction and what an expansion of the program would result in terms of what the increased benefits for renters of 4D units would look like, especially in properties in greater Minnesota that may be operating just fine within the confines of the current 4D low-income rental classification program. In our conversations with housing providers on this bill last session, as was mentioned, it was made clear that their chief concern is that the increase of the first tier valuation threshold indexed to 4A market rate units from $100,000 in assessment year 2014 to $174,000 in assessment year 2021 was reducing the effectiveness of the second tier 0.25 class rate benefit. And as was mentioned, a change was included last year that is now in law that froze the 4D class rate tier limit from $174,000 back to the original $100,000 for assessment years 22-23, which seems to address at least the crux of the concern for the next 2 assessment years at least. Our primary concern with the changes proposed in Senate File 3945 is the reduction of the first tier class rate of qualifying units from 0.75 to 0.25 that, as was mentioned by Mr. Quartus and others and Mr. Ines, will result in a property tax shift onto all existing property taxpayers as city net tax capacity is reduced due to the change. And this, I should note, is also against the backdrop of continued erosion of local property tax bases with the myriad of other existing property tax class rate reductions and value exclusions, and Mr. Quartus mentioned that as well. Some of those provisions are before this committee this year as well, and could exacerbate that property tax increase for homes and businesses. We certainly appreciate the local approval provision in section 1 that's been discussed, and we've had discussions on that last session, that requires an initial 4D applicant to receive local approval. However, this provision appears to not apply to existing property owners that may only have a portion of their units designated as 4D units in their building, that may want to transition more of their existing non-4D units to 4D units, given the more favorable property tax break with a class rate change. And we also seek clarification on how this would apply for applicants entitled to receive this reduction under the 3 other qualifications aside from local government assistance to receive this class rate reduction. Despite the local approval provision, the class rate reduction for, at minimum, all existing 4D units to the lowest property tax class rate in the state, and the shift in addition to additional property tax increases for residences due to changing commercial valuations is especially concerning for low-income homeowners, homeowners on fixed income, and small businesses struggling in the current economic uncertainty. We want to make sure that expanding this program for low-income renters doesn't swing the pendulum the other way for some of our other low-income homeowners, seniors on fixed income, et cetera, especially in those local taxing jurisdictions where that shift is more severe. We also certainly appreciate the transition aid in section 4. However, it is important, and as was noted, that the aid provided is only for 2 years and is static without regard to any new 4D units in existing or new buildings that could come online. The aid also does not hold property tax bases harmless due to the class rate reduction. The bill also contains no requirement that the additional property tax rate will result in any additional benefit to 4D renters through either deeper affordability or property reinvestment. And we've had numerous conversations about what we could do in this provision to ensure that benefit is passed on to renters. Again, especially with those property owners that may be operating just fine within the confines of the current program. We strongly believe that this program and the expansion of this program must balance the substantial property tax incentives for owners of low-income units, who often also receive federal tax benefits and or state or local assistance, with additional benefits to the renters of 4D units, and also consider the additional financial impacts to the broader property tax base who will ultimately bear the responsibility of the redistributed taxes. We at the League and certainly Metro Cities will continue to come to the table and work with the bill author and the advocates of the bill on our concerns. And Mr. Ines mentioned possible guardrail language, which we continue to be engaged in conversation about and will continue to do so, as well as meaningful change to this program that better minimizes the potential property tax increase to existing residents. And with me today, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee are 2 city officials. I believe next up is City Administrator Todd Prafke with the City of St. Peter, who will provide the perspective of a greater Minnesota city. And then Mr. Cherpich is also with me this morning from the City of Columbia Heights, who will talk more specifically about the specific implications on tax increment financing districts in the city and what that would look like with this impact. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to stand for any questions and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next up is Mr. Prafke. You're online, I believe.
Yes, I am. I hope you can hear me, Mr. Chair.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name, who you're with for the record. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, thank you very much. My name is Todd Prafke. I'm the city administrator for the City of St. Peter. And first of all, I want to thank Senator Weber. He's been a champion for affordable housing for many, many years. So I really appreciate that. St. Peter has really been focused on affordable housing and has done a number of projects. And I think a number of you have been through St. Peter and maybe even toured some of the projects that the city's been heavily involved in. We really see that 4D is an important tool in the landscape of affordable housing tools that are available, but continue to have concerns about the balance. And there's been discussion about guardrails and other things that we really like to see more discussion on and some potential modifications for that. In St. Peter, we have about 1,100 rental units, and of that number, about 550 enjoy the benefits of the property tax advantages of the 4D program. And a couple of different things that the city of my size with my relatively low tax base and certainly a substantial amount of non-taxable property within a place like St. Peter is. That reduction or that change will cause a substantial shift, and that can impact current housing, certainly, and current businesses has been discussed previously. But one thing that I think hasn't been discussed is that because of the programs a place like St. Peter has put in place for affordable home ownership, it can have a pretty negative impact on affordable home ownership as well. And so seeing some of those guardrails and some of those improvements built, I think could be very handy, at least from my perspective, and understanding and being able to measure that appropriate balance. We appreciate the inclusion of some of those modifications in the ongoing discussion, but let me get to 3 or 4 major points for us. First of all, we're supportive of the 4D program. We think it's very important as a tool that we use. Again, half of our rental units are involved in that program. We're just not sure it provides the appropriate balance. This frankly, folks, is, and I know there's been discussion about over $40 million is being put into the system. In many ways, that is not the case. And for cities like St. Peter, if there's only a 2-year transition, that ramp is not long enough based on the level of property tax capacity that we have and the number of units that we have within the program. And so again, in many ways, here's the deal. There's just not enough money going into affordable housing. And although this is nice, has the potential to be a nice tweak with some additional guardrails, there just isn't enough money coming into affordable housing, either from the feds or from the state. And we have a great opportunity during this session to make more impact on affordable housing throughout Minnesota. And while it's important to continue to look at the 4D program and provide opportunities, again, those guardrails and that transition is very important for a community like St. Peter. Not every community is in the same situation that we are with the number of rental properties that we have, or the estimated 35% of property value in St. Peter does not pay property taxes. But for a community like St. Peter, some of these things can have a substantial impact. And we'd hope to see opportunity to minimize that impact. Again, thanks to Senator Weber for the championing affordable housing, and so many great people who do wonderful, wonderful affordable housing projects throughout the state of Minnesota chimed in on this, and we really understand that perspective. But for communities like St. Peter, this is a little bit tougher one and needs some additional help. And we'd encourage the committee and the whole Senate to provide more opportunity for affordable housing through the injection of real dollars into affordable housing. Mr. Chair, that's all I have, but I'm happy to stick around for any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Prafke. Next up, and the last testifier, Mr. Aaron Cherpich. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name and who you're with for the record. You may begin. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Aaron Cherpich. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Columbia Heights, and just wanted to share the perspective from an entering suburb and how this proposed legislation hits within the City of Columbia Heights. So Columbia Heights has been tracking the proposed 4D classification rate changes for the past 2 years. For Columbia Heights, the primary concern remains the same, and that is the tax burden redistribution that will result from the retroactive nature of this proposed legislation, lowering the tax rate for existing 4D properties to a flat rate of 0.25%, as we all know and have discussed, will require all other tax classifications in the city to make up for this lost revenue. Columbia Heights is a fully developed first-ring community with a tax base that is comprised predominantly of single-family homes. Many of these homes are occupied by low-income families, owners, and renters that would qualify to live in income-restricted 4D multifamily units themselves. And rather than help keep those single-family housing stock affordable in our city, the legislation would shift an undue burden onto that tax base for many that are already burdened by high housing costs. The city does acknowledge and appreciate the proposed transition aid that's included in the bill. However, even with the aid, there's still a deficit in redistribution impact during the first 2 years, and the aid after 2025, the full force of that redistribution would be realized. Columbia Heights from our perspective, already provides a disproportional share of 4D classified affordable housing relative to our population. And the proposed retroactive nature of this bill asks Columbia Heights to contribute even more of the city's scarce resources, thereby exacerbating that disparity. A second concern for Columbia Heights relates to how the proposed legislation impacts tax increment financing districts, both existing and proposed. For existing districts, reducing the tax rate to 0.25% for 40 properties will recalibrate the increment that is generated within TIF districts that contain 40 properties. For some cities, this will mean that TIF qualified improvements that were paid for by municipalities with the expectation of being reimbursed with tax increment will no longer have that increment needed to recover those costs. Finally, the legislation will affect the decision-making process for municipalities such as Columbia Heights, which will now have to strongly consider whether or not to support the development of more affordable housing units in the city, or whether to favor market rate housing development that doesn't unduly burden the existing tax base and strain the delivery of essential services. And that's all I have for comments. Thank you for your time, senators.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that's all the testifiers. I do have a question for Senator Weber. Would you remind me again what you believe the total shift in statewide property tax burden would be compared to current property taxes that are paid? Can you remind me of that? Or Mr. Ward, whoever had that number?
Chairman, the total.
Highness.
Mr. Ward works. The total shift under the bill in front of you today is $47 million. And once again, the property tax generates $12 billion on an annual basis.
So $12 billion are taken in statewide in property tax. Of course, it's a little different from city to city, county to county, but with the total shift in this proposal of about 47 million. Mr. Sylvia, do you have the percentage math on that? What is 47 million divided by 12 billion? Anyway, get back to us when you got that number.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Sylvia has pointed to Mr. Wilson. He's the math person here.
Mr. Chair, by my napkin math, it's less than 0.5%, about 0.4%.
47 million divided by 12 billion is 0.05%. 0.04%. Okay, excellent. All right, Mr. Ines.
Yeah, Chairman, just maybe one thing to elaborate on that as well is that the simulation that Mr. Arnes does is very helpful, but it's really a static, in time. It doesn't take into account new construction, doesn't take into account a lot of other things happening in the property tax system. So I think it's an informative piece of information, but it probably overstates the actual impact, I would say. And also, one other comment I'd like to make, just because you're talking about the impact of this proposal, maybe on middle income and modest income homeowners. One thing we did see in that 4D report that was done by DOR was how incredibly effective and responsive our current property tax refund program is to address those households. And they pointed out one of the exhibits that the city says uses Black Duck. Black Duck is adversely impacted here. It's 4% or whatever. Well, when they did an analysis of middle or modest income family homestead, half of that property tax increase was alleviated by the property tax refund program. So we have probably the best property tax refund program circuit breaker in the entire country. And it's very effective at addressing those kinds of impacts on middle and modest income homes.
So it creates a very soft landing, to say the least. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ines. Members, any questions? Comments? All right, so Senator Weber, you have closing comments on Senate File 3945.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do. I think there's some issues that we need to think about. One of the issues that was brought up during testimony was, we don't provide for city approval of additional certification of additional units within an apartment complex where only a portion of them are qualified for 4D classification. I don't think that that's a major factor in many of the cities with whom 4D housing has been developed. Most of those units have the entirety of the building within that. Where you may see some of that happen, quite frankly, in rural areas, when we have a housing project and we receive monies from the state, we're generally required to have a portion of those units that are set aside for low-income people. And the question is, if you do own a building that has only a partial classification, why would you certify more units when your ability to recapture your expenses is limited because of number one, the income requirements, rental requirements placed on you by the federal government for low-income housing, and no control over your income stream or expense side with increased taxes, increased security, et cetera. The other thing I want to comment is that, on a broader scale, taxes at the end of the day do play a part in our housing picture. We hear from every community, whether it's metro Minnesota, whether it's rural Minnesota, about the need for more housing, the need for more affordable housing, the need for workforce housing, just the need for housing in general. And yet, at the end of the day, nobody ever seems to want to pay for it. And it's time for us to recognize that these type of things do have a cost to them. It would be nice if we as a state could say, well, this community has contributed to the costs of ownership in an exponentially greater amount than other communities have. But we don't really have the luxury of being able to do that. And we have to develop a policy that applies statewide in terms of our housing classifications. I think the other thing that this issue points to is, many years ago when the property tax system was redone, it was called the Minnesota Miracle. And quite frankly, now it's become the Minnesota Nightmare. Our property tax classification system is so complicated. It is, people have said to me, maybe it's time to have a deep dive into the property tax system, but don't include me, because nobody really wants to have to do that because of the complexities with which this system is created. We make a change here, we've influenced somebody else over there. I spent 16 years in city government. I get it. I understand the shift that they're concerned about. But I also understand that as the property tax chair, and even as a state senator, this is my 10th year up here, never have I received the complaints about property taxes that I'm receiving this year. Now, part of it probably is because of my role as the property tax subcommittee chair. But, quite frankly, we have to understand when one of the people complained to me about her increase in taxes here in St. Paul, actually, I said, this points to the need. We have to, as voters, we need to pay attention to elections at all levels of government, because quite frankly, decisions that are made at every level affect the overall tax structure. So, Mr. Chairman, with that rant, I'm going to cease my comments and appreciate the committee's hearing of this bill. Thank you so much.
You thank yourself. Thank you, Senator Weber. And we're looking for solutions, right? Solutions. Working on this for years. This is a solution. It's a great idea, soft landing, and you've already committed to looking into some of those the guardrails that you mentioned earlier. So it's bipartisan work over the years. This is a soft landing, great solution, great idea. So thank you, Senator Weber. With that, Senate File 3945 will be laid over. Thank you. And next up, I still have to keep working up here. Senate File 3898, Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Senate File 3898 is one of those bills that, quite frankly, we shouldn't have to have in front of us today. But we do, because there was a change that has been made on the part of the agency without any direction from the legislature. And really what we're talking about here is the attachments and appurtenances of cooperative utility distribution lines definition modification. In 1939, the Rural Electrification Act brought electricity to rural America. And it was when it was started to be provided here in Minnesota as well. And it took a while for that to happen. I was born in 1956, and quite frankly, my family farm only had received electricity a short time before that. The REAs were given some special tax benefits because, quite frankly, as it is to provide services in any sparsely populated areas, the cost to provide electrical service was higher price to provide to the rural areas than it was within our cities. And so at that time, the Minnesota legislature enacted what is now codified in section 273.41, the laws that attachments and appurtenances to their local distribution lines would be exempt from personal property tax as opposed to our for-profit utility companies. And those attachments and appurtenances basically deal with, it could be lighting in a rural area, power poles or street lamps, but also the one most common thing is probably the meters that are at the end of the line that meter the electricity usage of their particular customer. At that time, then, instead of that, they were required to pay a fee based on the number of co-op members, X number of dollars per 100 members. And the law was enacted to avoid undue tax burden on these nonprofit electric cooperatives, and which would have undermined their ability to provide services. Nowadays, these same utility companies are looking at, in some instances, looking at possibly being the purveyor of internet connections and this type of thing as well in rural areas. And so their need to have this type of tax benefit still exists. However, a couple of years ago, the department, like I said, without any direction from the legislature, decided that they could start to impose personal property tax on these appurtenances and attachments. And in fact, have done so in at least 2 cooperatives within our state so far. And quite frankly, at this point, Mr. Chairman, we have representatives of these 2 cooperatives here, and I would turn the testifiers table over to them at this point.
Thank you, Senator Weber. We do have an A1 that is an author's amendment. It's just an effective date issue.
Very good.
So
I would move the A1 amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Members, we have a A1 author's amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Got it. And we have, is this Mr. Robin Doge?
Close.
Yogi. What is it? Deji?
It's a long story, but it's actually pronounced Dagey. Phonetic spelling is D-A-Y-G-H-E-E.
Okay.
Yeah.
You, thanks for coming to committee. State your name and who you're with for the record. You may begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Again, my name is Robin Dagey. I am the CEO at Stearns Electric Association. Our headquarters are in Melrose, Minnesota. We have about 28,000 members that we serve in Stearns and surrounding counties. I've got just over 30 years in the electric utility business. My first 5 years spent in Southern Ohio. I worked for an investor-owned utility. And then I worked for rural electric co-ops the rest of my career, one in Anoka County, Medina County, now in Stearns County. And originally from Forest Lake, Minnesota, we raised our family in Circle Pines or Lino Lakes, Minnesota, and now we're just west of Stearns County. So thank you for having me here today. You know, when I told my wife I was coming here last night to speak with the tax committee at the Capitol, she asked me if I was in trouble. And I said, well, I don't know, honey, did you pay the property taxes? And she assured me she had. So that's a good thing. But anyway, I know you're busy and you've got a full schedule, so I'm just going to take a few moments of your time this morning. And basically just tell you a story. We are, as the senator just mentioned, Senator Weber just mentioned that, you know, we're one of the co-ops that was assessed property tax on our meters and AMR equipment recently. So here's our story. Last July, we received our property tax statement from Department of Revenue. And we typically have a portionable taxable or market value at Stearns Electric, about 12 million. Our portionable value went up over 18 million. So we thought, well, certainly this is a mistake. We'll reach out to Department of Revenue and get this straightened out. Well, we did reach out to the Department of Revenue, and they told us that they have now included meters and AMR equipment. Just to clarify, AMR equipment is kind of the smart parts of a meter. It's, basically inside the meter allows us to, more effectively manage our electrical lines and our electrical system. But anyway, revenue, I'll refer to Minnesota Department of Revenue's revenue, stated that they were now including meters in our apportionable market value. So our tax bill went up from about 560,000 a year to about 725,000 per year. Now, property taxes are probably one of our biggest expenses at the co-op. And so it's quite a surprise to us, but we didn't agree with that determination. So we, what a lot of people do, we filed an appeal with revenue, and we had an appeal hearing. We thought we did a pretty good job and a job of convincing. Apparently not. Revenue came back and said, nope, we're standing by our determination, and you will taxes on your meters and EMR equipment. So we disagreed. We believe that meters, EMR equipment, and streetlights are attachments and appurtenances. And so I guess we went to the next step, and then we filed a notice with the Minnesota Tax Court to get on the docket, and that's where we sit today. We did, in protest, pay our property tax bill. We paid the additional 150,000 that was assessed in 2000. So I guess that's water under the bridge, but we're here today in support of this Senate File 3898. And, just know, when you think about, for 80 years, Minnesota co-ops and rural electrics have not paid property taxes on metering equipment. So it's kind of a first time event. So, we talk about cost shifts and those kinds of things and cost to state and local government. Well, there is none, because we've not paid this tax before, but it'd be quite a windfall and quite an increase if they had the ability to do that. Our goal as a rural electric co-op is to maintain low rates. As Senator Weber said, we have, at least in our service area, probably 7 to 8 members per mile. And investor and utility, you might have 30 or 40. So our revenue per mile of line is not very good. So anytime we can get a way to save costs for our membership, in this case, we're a not-for-profit organization. Our business model is to break even at the end of the year with a little bit left over to pay patronage or capital credits to our members. So I guess the only choice we'd have in this case is, to raise our rates to cover this additional expense. So I guess I'm here before you today to support the Senate File 3898 and offer any help that myself or Minnesota co-ops can do to, I guess, clarify the statute 273.41. And that's it for my comments, and I'm available for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Dagey.
Yeah.
Next up is Mike Henke. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name and who you're with for the record. You may begin. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Mike Henke. I'm with People's Energy Cooperative. People's Energy Cooperative is a not-for-profit cooperative, electric distribution cooperative serving about 20,000 members down in the Rochester area. We don't serve the city of Rochester proper. We serve all the rural areas and small communities around Rochester. We cover about 1,000 square miles in parts of 6 counties. We serve our members with about 29 substations, 3,000 miles of power lines, and 68 employees. So in all respects, we're a small company. Keep in mind that our objective as a not-for-profit electric cooperative is to bring affordable electricity to rural Minnesota, not to make a profit. We only collect enough margin to cash flow our operation, and we return any excess margins, which are equity, to our members in the form of capital credits. For 2020 taxes, the Department of Revenue also included meters in our rural areas as taxable properties, similar to my colleague Robin Daggy, for the first time ever in 80 years. The resulting tax was $200,000 to my small cooperative. $200,000, to put that in perspective, equates to almost $1 per month per member at our cooperative. So it's just like tacking an extra $1 on your electric bill every month to pay for this tax. As a not-for-profit, our primary goal is to keep rates as low as we can for our members. That is our primary objective, and it's a huge deal for us. We're very proud of our low rates to our members. In fact, at this point, we're cheaper than Xcel Energy, who has economies of scale and higher density, as Robin mentioned. If we didn't raise our rates to our members, which I did not for this department overreach, the money has to come from somewhere. And it comes from our largest expense, which is maintenance programs, the cost of maintaining power lines and establishing and creating reliability for our members. So to put this $200,000 additional tax in perspective, we currently pay about $750,000 a year in property tax, both in personal property tax and real estate taxes. So this $200,000 on top of $750,000, doing math again with the calculator, is a 27% increase. For a small business like ours, that is huge. So in closing, I find it bewildering that meters attached to rural cooperative distribution lines are suddenly taxable after they've been exempt for nearly 80 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henke. So I have one clarifying question again for Senator Weber. I certainly agree with your position on this. Mr. Dagey brought up a good point, and this seems to be an issue with fiscal notes as well. So they're having a cost here to the state because of increase in state paid homeowner property tax refunds. But as Mr. Dagey pointed out, they're not currently, how can it be a cost when you're not paying the tax anyway? Correct? I mean, do you have any explanation or colorful words for that?
Mr. Chairman, I have no idea why that note is there.
Okay, okay. Senator, I think Senator Klein would like to have Parliament come up. Thank you, Mr. Henke.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Bears, can you assist Commissioner Bears, or who's coming up? Or you're not Ms. Bears, all right. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name and who you're with for the record. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Chair and members, my name is John Kloxim. I'm Assistant Commissioner at the Department of Revenue. We do not have a position on this bill. However, I want to talk a little bit about the characterization that the department has changed. You know, the department takes its mission diligently to make sure that the tax code is applied uniformly across all taxpayers. And when we discover an instance where that is not the case, you know, it's our duty to investigate, to ask questions, to provide education and inform. I think it would be a mistake when looking at past practices to assume that the department either authorized or sanctioned behavior that's outside the tax code. And our attempts to correct that behavior are mischaracterized as a change in that case because we're just trying to get people in compliance with the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huckstein.
Kloxim.
Kloxstein, like a clock, okay. Kloxstein, thank you. Point well taken. Senator Klein, you had a question? Comment?
Yeah, I guess more of a comment. First of all, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Weber, for the bill. I think I heard correctly, the gentleman from Stearns Electric said that his property tax bill went up by about 300,000 unexpectedly to him, to his organization in 1 year. And the other gentleman said their property tax bill went up by about 27%. I guess without any forewarning, I guess what obligation does the department have to sort of alert people that this is something forthcoming or that there's been a change in analysis and so forth? So that seems fairly devastating to those organizations.
Mr. Clockstein.
Mr. Chair and Senator Klein, we do a lot of outreach and engagement with our taxpayers, and there are many instances throughout the year where we talk about our efforts in making sure that there's full compliance with the tax code. And so I think if there's a question that this came upon them suddenly, I would have to go back and look at the record, but I probably would not. I would assume that that was not the case, you know, but I think when you talk about, you know, making a correction to tax practices, at some point you have to do that, and you just have to make sure that they get in compliance.
Senator Klein. All right. Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Weber, for bringing this forward. I understand that the department has the responsibility to apply the law or implement the law or seek compliance. And our job here is to set the policy, to set the law. And I think this is a worthwhile discussion, and I'm grateful that you're bringing it forward, Senator Weber.
Thank you, Senator Murphy. So I'll just close. Senator Clockstein, your initial comments, point well taken. We don't mean to disparage, but, there are things, I guess some people over time have been a bit, they're sensitive to things now, right? Shell shocked, as it were, with some things that pop up, and always this idea of the tax person, right? Out there hovering over their heads and that sort of thing. So point well taken on that. Appreciate it.
Senator Weber, the department looks forward to working with Senator Weber to make sure that his intent of the bill is clear, and going forward, we have good administration.
Yeah, and thank you. And I still think it's not going to cost the state $520 because there's nothing there to cost anything. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Clockstein.
Thank you.
Senator Weber, closing comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your attentive members, attentive listening to this bill. I think, quite frankly, certainly after 80 years, I can only assume that a change on the part of the agency means that they think previous agencies did it incorrectly. And I guess the purpose of this bill is to tell them, no, they had it right. And I think, in all honesty, as we think about these issues, I think it's time for us as a legislature to step up and say that what the law says is what the law says. And I think that, we have a number of instances. I will go back to the Rule 8100 valuation of our utility properties, and the fact that we had to come up with $29 million to provide refunds to compensate local governments for the court decision that said that the agency is doing it incorrectly. And yet, members, I don't think there's been any change in the way they're doing their valuations. So if they won't adhere to the court's admonitions, then it's time for us to provide our own. And that's the purpose of this bill today. And thank you for your attention.
Yes, thank you, Senator Weber. I would agree with that. Well, there's a lot of professionals in the department. There are some challenges with the utilities, and it happens time and again. Easements up north, we had to pay a lot of money to transition out there as well. Anyway, so thank you, Senator Weber. With that, thank you, members. Senate File 3898 as amended to be laid over. And Senator Weber, anything else?
No.
Meeting next Wednesday. We are adjourned. Thank you.